Hi there. So today I'm really excited to have Sherm Porter for the Pivot Simply podcast. He's the president of Catering Co. He is the host of Destination Success podcast and author and the business coach. So I'm truly excited to have you, Sherm, here. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you this morning? Well, it's not this morning for you. You're on the other side of the pond, right?
Yes, so it is afternoon. So I'm doing great and weather is great. So it's a great day to have this discussion. So I'm looking forward to have this discussion with you and get all the knowledge, wisdom, your experience out there for our audience. So let's get started. So Sham, I was going through your profile and I'm like really intrigued with your experience. Like you are in catering industry. You are also in real estate. You are an author. You are a business coach. So there's like lot on your plate. I would like to know about your journey. How did this start? Like, how did you get into this entrepreneurial journey? Would you like to share that for our audience, please?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So it started out at a really young age. Everybody else was always aspiring to get into the corporate job or maybe a trade or work for Chrysler, things like that. And I was always the round peg in a square hole when it came to that. I always had I knew there was something, but I couldn't put like my finger on it. And my grandfather owned a construction company, and I really kind of leaned towards that for a really long time until I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. Like I didn't even fit there. So most of the guys were like hunters and fishers, and that just isn't something I like to do. I love building and using my hands and creating things, but it was cold in the winter, it was hot in the summer, and you just couldn't get away from it. So I went to college, which school really wasn't my thing either, but I figured, all right, let's just figure out what this is going to be. And through that, I stumbled into the food and the restaurant industry, and I loved it. Started working out as a waiter and worked my way up to management, and I was going to school for HRM, and then I kind of burned out a little bit because long hours. I had a young son at the time, and I said, I need a little more something a little more stable. So I veered over to the family military, which is the Navy, and I joined the Navy, and that was really cool. I excelled really quickly, um, and it still didn't fit. And there was a gentleman there that was in my company that had a small commercial cleaning company with his wife and his cousin, and that's all we did in the Navy was clean,
Mhm.
believe it or not. And so when I got out, I was like, all right, if he could do it, part time and make good money, I should be able to do it full time and make good money. So I started a commercial cleaning company, and um, I rose it up to about 40 people, about $1 million in sales in about 3 years, and everything was going good. And I, got married again, and and it just wasn't like really what I love to do. Like it was just not a great passion, regardless of the success, regardless of the money. And an opportunity arose to take over somebody's kitchen. And I told myself I would never go back into the food business just because of the hours and the time. And one thing led to another, and I took over a small little kitchen and a corner bar, and it rose. Now we are one of the leading catering companies in the state of Delaware. I have over 40 employees, and tons of awards and accolades and things like that. But it was a long journey to find really what I loved, and then through that I found coaching. It was something that I had to fix myself first, because how I saw things and how I thought things should work weren't working. And then I went and to a personal coach to help me,
Mhm.
with my mindset and some other things. And they were like, "You'd be a great coach," and I'm like, "No, I don't want to be a coach." Well, what comes to find out is that when you have employees, you are a coach, whether you want to or not. And then I realized, wow, I'm giving out all this great free information. I should probably monetize this. So that turned into I joined a national um, business coaching conglomerate, and the first thing they said to me is, Sherm, you have a lot of great knowledge you need to share. You need to write a book. And I'm like, I am not a book writer. I don't even like reading books. So that turned into me writing a book about the eight key things that every entrepreneur should know. Small little book, quick read, Destination Success for those of you that want to pick it up. But what I found out is that life, whether it's personal or business, is all about coaching. If you want things to be different and better, you're constantly coaching your partner, your family, your friends, your employees, because everyone needs help, including yourself. So, and when you're coaching, you're actually learning at the same time, because when you're helping someone else get through a struggle or get over an obstacle or get to that next level, you in turn go, you know what, I could do this with me for here, and let's tweak that a little bit. So, you're constantly tweaking. I think if anything has taught business owners in the past 2.5 years is that, things happen sometimes with or without your control, and you need to learn to, bob and weave and tweak, and if you don't, you may not make it, and that's, and it's huge. And that's kind of really what pushed me forward into coaching other business owners. And I was always helping people around me. I've been on the board of the local chamber for almost 6 years now and things like that. But that's kind of my journey. It's always a long story because it's not it's actually the traditional way. Like no one finds their way quickly, easily, or it doesn't happen overnight. Like there's always things that happen, and it's a long journey, and I've been self-employed now I got out of the Navy in March 20th of 1998. So I've been self-employed since then, and trying to find my way to today of, November of 2023, 25 years later. So I still don't know exactly where I want to be, but I'm getting closer every day. So.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I did not, know about your Navy journey. So I was already wondering, like, this is catering, then real estate. You are a business coach, you are an author, and now another feather, Navy. But obviously, I mean, every experience, it teaches and adds something to you. And like you mentioned correctly, everybody is a coach. A parent is a coach. They are coaching their kids. As a friend, you are a coach. As a partner, you are a coach. But it's good to turn that knowledge, that wisdom into something concrete to help others, where they can really get help from you. So really nice, great to hear about your journey, Shyam. I would like to know, like, you are a business mentor. So when small-time business owners, solopreneurs, they are coming to you to get some help on scaling their business and the kind of challenges they face. So would you like to share some information and experience on that which kind of challenges generally solopreneur face when they feel that they have hit that roadblock, and which kind of solutions do you provide for scaling their businesses? If you can please share some information.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So the number one roadblock is them 90% of the time. It was the roadblock when I was making decisions, personally. It's not personal that we pick on you. It's that you don't want to let go. So if you think you need to scale, you think you need to hire, think you need to add something, it's probably 6 months too late. Like you probably should have done it 6 months ago, but you've been over analyzing whether you could afford it, whether it would work, whether it would, what I tell people is you shoot, aim, fire, like you do it first. And I'm not saying haphazardly shoot, but you've already over analyzed the plan. So once you've analyzed the plan, shoot. Don't keep trying to dial in to get the bullseye every single time, because it's not always going to happen. Like the plan works great until you put the plan in place, and then you realize there was all these other factors You didn't realize that we're there until you put the plan in place. Doesn't mean the plan is bad. It just means that you didn't realize there was going to be a couple other degrees that you had to account for in the plan. And you're not going to figure that out until you put the plan in place. So you have to come up with your first plan, put it in place, and then you constantly adjust. It's never, the plan is never a 1 + 2 = 3. The plan would be beautiful if it worked 1 + 2 = 3, but normally it's 1 + G = 400. That's 310 divided by 2, and now you get what you want. Like, you never thought all that was going to be part of the equation until you implement it. So the biggest struggle most solo or the beginning entrepreneurs is acting, because they're scared to make a mistake. Let's face it, you're going to make 2,000 mistakes, and that's probably only in the first month. And then you're going to make another 2,000 mistakes. Mistakes aren't bad. Mistakes are learning lessons. And in order to learn, grow, and scale, you got to make the mistakes fast, and you got to make the mistakes quick, so that you can learn, grow, and move on. The longer you wait for a mistake, the longer it's going to take you to get to that next level.
Well, that's amazing. So you mean faster you make mistakes, faster you grow. So
yes.
A lot of entrepreneurs who are procrastinating, it's more to do with their inner challenges, with their own inner saboteurs, which is holding them back.
Well, we're all, naturally so your mind is created to yield you from pain. That's how it was designed. It's designed for you not to struggle and not to have pain. So when you think, if I do this, immediately your brain's going, well, what if, and it gives you all the bad things that happen. Well, you have to kind of say, no. If I do this, all these good things are going to happen. And that's the difference. You have to learn to have the mindset of, okay, if I do this and this happens on the negative side, then I'm going to do this to bring it back to the positive side. And then when this happens on the positive side, how do I keep growing that? You know what I mean? And there's always going to be something that comes over where it's not exactly how you wanted to scale. There's no straight line to scaling. It's all over the place like this. And we've seen the memes all over the place about business, that there's no straight line to success.
There is like loops. So so and this is something great I actually read a few days back. What if has a great insight. So what if it could be, mind could say it's leading you to something bad, or something good can happen. So that's what I got from your conversation as well. Instead of overthinking, just taking actions. Great. So Sherm, my next question is, in this growth phase, which kind of leadership qualities one should have as a leader? So, with the team, for the organizational growth, to drive that vision. So which kind of leadership qualities do you think?
So when you're growing as a team, whether it's 2 people to 4, 4 to 6, or 20 to 50, you have to have a good culture. And the culture is with the people, and they have to be involved, because if they're not involved, then you're dragging them like a brick behind the boat. And they have to have the want to be there. They have to have the knowledge, and they have to be part of the process. You should not be bringing people along that are just soldiers. You also need, leaders. You need to be filling the spots that you're not good at. I'm not good at a lot of things in my company. And I'm quick to admit it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm horrible, at managing the first level of employees, because I just don't think that way, and nor have I ever. I've always been a problem solver and moving fast. I don't think, like, how can it be that I get the most for the least amount of effort? Like, I've always given the most effort and probably got paid the least amount. But the point is, you have to have people, and you should be bringing that level of people around you that maybe you're not good at accounting, maybe you're not good at admin, maybe you're not good at marketing, maybe you're not good at putting the process together. Maybe you're just a visionary, where you come up with a great idea and then you hand it to people that now they bring it from beginning to end. And you know what it should look like, how the process, and then the end result always comes out. So you help with that. There's, you have to know what you're good at, and you have to know what you're not good at, and you have to bring people around you, create a good culture that has everyone's input. And when everybody is all in, you're going to scale fast, because then there's no one holding you back from scaling. And that's tough, because you have to know how to recruit the right people to get on that team. And it's not always the easiest. It wasn't easy for me. Other people have strong suits in that area, but it wasn't the easiest thing for me to always try to find the right people for the right spots.
No, 100%. Like, not everyone has all the qualities. Someone who's visionary, it's hard for them to execute it that fast. And someone who's like more into, who's great in marketing, like you mentioned, who's great in accounting, it's in finance side. So it's actually it's good to have a balance. And I totally agree with you. And thanks for sharing this. Shyam, like you have different kind of business. A lot of business entrepreneurs, right from the very beginning, they struggle with defining the unique value proposition for their service, for the product, or anything they're offering. So since you have different kind of businesses, would you share some light on this? How to define the unique value proposition, which really helps them for marketing their services or products, whether it's physical product or digital product?
When you're marketing your company, you're marketing your brand, and what is it that your brand solves? What does your brand make easier for somebody? How does your brand create a win for your ideal customer? And you have to sit down and figure out what your ideal customer is. Like, you should come up with the emoji for your customer, and then back it out, like how you're going to get the product or service to them. What is it you're doing? You have to know, with us, it's, we originally, we were just basically running a restaurant and a bar for someone. Then once we stepped to catering, it was, there was a lot of catering companies that would do food, but they were late all the time, or their food really wasn't that good. So, our motto is that our service is better than our food, and our food is award winning. You know what I mean? Like, so that's our motto to our customers. And, we're on time all the time. There's no being late, and we have a system that makes sure that the delivery gets there at least 30 minutes early, if no more than 15 minutes early. And we give a 30-minute window to our customers, so that, there's traffic, there's things like, when you go to deliver food to somebody's office, they forgot there's a security guard you have to go to and show an ID, because they do it every day. So to them, they forgot that one process of them coming to work. So you have to define, what makes you better, faster, more reliable, whatever it is, the gain for your customer, and then you just promote that. And that's why people will come to you. You never, ever, ever want to market price. Price is the worst thing to do for a small business, because the big guys will outprice you all day long. You want to go on service, you want to go on convenience, you want to go on value, never on price.
That's interesting. I mean, like, talking more on the value rather than talking on the price. And I have seen, like, many people actually, people who are going for this, they're actually seeking freedom in some sense. So
Sure.
So they are looking for something, whether it's a time freedom or, just their own inner freedom. So this is great to know from you. Shyam, like you mentioned about the customer avatar, actually, I noted it's down for the next question. So how does, someone make sure that their customer persona, that customer avatar is relevant throughout, their growth period? Because the trend is always changing, the market is always evolving. So how does one make sure that this is what my customer avatar is, this is whom I'm serving? If you can please share that.
I mean, you have to reach out to your customers. I mean, in the beginning, it's a little tough because you don't have customers. You know what I mean? Like you're trying to attract people, but you go out to local things. Like here locally for me, we go to chamber things, we go to networking events, and you go out and see, you know, is what you're doing something that everybody needs or everybody wants? And that's how. And then once you start getting customers, you ask for their feedback. I mean, customers will give you good feedback and they'll give you critique feedback quickly, but you're not going to get it if you don't ask. And most people are scared to ask because most people don't want the real answer. They don't want to know that yes, it's good, or yes, it was great, or here's where you could work. You know, you wait for the catastrophe to happen where a customer starts giving you a 1-star review and screaming and hollering about a refund to actually start adjusting the process. But as the owner, you have to make sure that you're paying attention to the process too. Is what we started with what we're doing now? How is, you know, I don't work every day anymore, and it's taken me 25 years to get to this point. But the purpose is I still go in and I'll go in the kitchen and I will take a spoon and a fork and a plate and I will start eating food that people are preparing to make sure the food is still what we should be serving to our customers. You know, and then I'll just jump in a car with a delivery driver one time just to see how they deliver. It's not always the most fun for them because they're like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "I just want to come out and hang out with you, see what's going on." You know, I try to divert it that I'm not paying attention or critiquing them, but you know, I get in there, or I'll just go in the office one day and I'll sit there and I'll work from my laptop and not say anything for hours, which people know that drives people crazy. But I'm listening to everything going on in the office to make sure that it's how I want everyone to be interacting with the customers, interacting with each other, interacting with the vendors, you know, like to make sure that things are still working. Because the last thing you want to do is wait till there's, you know, the ships runs aground to go, oh, we should have diverted 2 miles ago, 1 degree to the right. You know what I mean? Like you know, you have to always be checking your system, checking your process, checking your service, checking your marketing. Is this working? You know, like you can tell by the orders. You know, if you send out an email, you should get, if you send out 1,000 emails, you should get 10 to 15 orders, you know, right back immediately. And then from that email, you should follow up with a phone call. And then that phone call should get you another 10 to 15 orders. It's a simple, I mean, this marketing's been around since day one. And it's very simple. When you email your customers, like, oh yeah, I forgot. We need that. Boom, they order. Then you follow up, you know, a week later with a phone call. Hey, we just want to reach out and say hi, let you know we have some new things, you know, to offer. We just wanted to say hello. How are you doing? How can we help you better? And then boom, you're going to get 10 more orders from that. You know, like that's how you know. And if you get none, then hey, something's wrong. You know, and there's got to be a customer you can reach out and say, why aren't you using this service anymore? You know, some people will tell you price. That's the easiest scapegoat. Well, I just can't afford it anymore. Nonsense. They probably buy $4 waters. They have $1,000 phones. It's not about price. There's something else. So you have to ask a better question. You know, well, last time you ordered this, or we did this for you. You know, can you go through the experience with me? Then once you ask that question, now here comes the story. It may or may not aligned with what they thought they were going to get or what they needed. Sometimes you sell once in a lifetime products. We do weddings. I mean, once two people get married, technically they shouldn't be getting married again. So it's really tough. Like you have a once in a lifetime span, but at that wedding, there was 200 people. There are 200 potential customers, not just for a wedding, but for everything. So everything you do leads to the next customer, and understand that. I know it was very long and broad, but
this is amazing. I mean, this is
yeah.
a great thing I've heard today.
So yeah.
And thank you for sharing this. So like you said, you know, you are, while doing all this, while making sure your service quality value is in place, everything, you know, and you are handling multiple businesses.
Yes.
How do you how do you manage your own work-life balance? And also, how do you make sure you are, you know, I have heard about this like 80-20 rule, right? how do you use it to make sure your life is in peace, your personal life, professional life, and it's not like really overpowering each other?
It's hard in the beginning, and I'd be lying to tell you that I had work-life balance in the beginning. I didn't. I went through a lot of relationships,
Mm,
because this was my baby. This is what I wanted. Once I went all in,
mm,
in '98, that was it. Like I was like, okay, this is working. I don't care. I'm going to do whatever I have to do, and it takes time. But
mm,
if you start something with a significant other, then you both have to be all in on it. You have to understand that there's going to be times where you work 20 hours in a day. I've slept on, we manage facilities, and I would sleep on a couch at the facility knowing that I get an extra hour of sleep, not driving home and coming back, because I had, I left at 1 and I had to be back by 5 to do the
mm,
breakfast order. So I'm just going to sleep on a couch tonight because I'm going to get an extra hour of sleep because I don't have to drive home and come back. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to understand there's going to be some sacrifices like that, but understand that the sacrifice is a means to the end. You know, Everybody looks at me now, and the running joke is that, am I calling you on the golf course? Because I've worked really hard to get to this point where I like golf and I play golf a lot now. I still work.
mm,
Um, the biggest thing is, if you do have a significant other, you have to schedule date night and time with the significant other, just like you would schedule an appointment with your most important customer that's going to pay you. So you have to pick out a few days a week where you block out that this is where we're going to go. Now, you may go out to dinner, maybe you go dancing, maybe you come back and then go back to work, but at least you're blocking out a
mm.
specific amount of time to spend one-on-one time. And then what you do is you take this thing, and I have the hamburger. So you shut it and you put it, and you go like this, and you put it in a drawer, and then you have specific time with that person. You don't let the phone, no matter what happens. I promise you, unless the place is burning down, you should have good insurance. You don't worry about it. Just you give 100% of your attention to that person for the
Mhm.
period of time that you've blocked out, just like you would, because you wouldn't answer that phone if it was a customer that was one of your largest contracts. And they're like, no. Well, then why are you doing it with somebody that you
Mm,
love, and you should be dedicating that time to them, no different than that same client? And we forget that because our mind is racing. How can we get from A to B constantly? And we
mm,
and we forget about these things
mm,
because they've been there, or they're there, and you have to remember that you have to cultivate that as well as everything else. And then
mm,
if you have children, then you're adding even more things into the mix, and you have to make sure you schedule time with them. It's
mhm,
not going to be every day, but you have to make the important things, like if they play a sport and this is a really big opportunity game, whatever it is for your child, you need to schedule out an hour to be there. Just like I said with your significant other, you have to make, now, you're doing an hour here, an hour there. There's 24 hours in a day. And as Arnold Schwarzenegger says, you only need 6 hours of sleep. And if you need more than that, sleep faster. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. If you want this life, there's a lot of people that tell you that you gain freedom, and you do. You gain a lot of freedom, but you
mm,
also lose a lot of time. You know what I mean? Because time is fast. I can't believe that I've been doing this for 25 years.
mm,
It just is astounding and astonishing to me that I've actually been doing this for 25 years, because I'm going to tell you, the first year I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And now 25 years later, here I am with multiple companies, multiple businesses. Not everything worked. I failed at a lot of things. I tried a lot of things and I wasn't great at a lot of things. And then I failed at one, and then I brought it back, like real estate. I did really great, and then I kind of failed at it. And then my buddy brought me back into it, and now we're doing it differently because I learned from those mistakes. And I said, if I do it again, I'm going to do it this way. I'm not going to do it the way I did it last time. And
mm,
it's a constant evolution, and you have to pay attention to
mm,
everything, and whatever's important to you, whether it is, children or a significant other, or your faith. You can't,
mm,
because all that does is it drains you. I call it's your bucket. You have a bucket and you fill it up with, you're constantly filling it up with what's not working, all the pain. all the suffering, and you don't want that bucket to run over. And how you pour that bucket out and get more space before it starts running over as you do things you like. I like golf. I like smoking cigars. I like hanging out with my buddies that were all high level people. I go to training for business owners in Texas every quarter. Like, I do things that refresh me. I go on date nights with my fiance, at least 2 times a week. We have it scheduled out where we're doing things. She helps me with that because I tell her, if I am not paying attention, you're going to have to slow me down and tell me these are the nights we're going out. And she agrees with it. She understands, but you have to pay attention to what's important, and everything's important, but you have to schedule it out accordingly. And it's not easy, but you gotta have a calendar and you have to schedule it out.
Nice. This is one of the most practical advice I have heard on work-life balance, actually, when you're showing, literally keeping your phone away. Another thing is, like, even if the person is present, staying like mentally present in that moment, it's really useful. So really great to know about your journey, Sherm. Next question, which I have is more on like how you advise someone who has, like, there is a passion, there is someone is good at something, and since you have got multiple businesses, how do you help others with finding out their zone, like their zone of genius, like this is what I really need to do, which will also generate me revenue, profits. We talk about ikigai, but then I would like to hear from your personal experience, that how do you help others with that?
So I coach a little differently than some people. So some people tell you that you should play around with something until it makes you money and then give up whatever your full-time gig is. I unfortunately came through the entrepreneur journey a little differently. So I left the Navy with nothing and started this. And I was all in. I burned the boats, as Tony Robbins would say. I burned the boats. And there was nothing else. Like, but in the same instance, while I was building, I could waiter, and I had plenty of jobs. So I would pick up a couple waiter gigs that weren't full time. It wasn't a full-time job distracting me. It was just, I needed to make money, for my family, for my son's diapers or daycare or whatever it was, to like offset but once I got the first contract, I was all in. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't go back to waitering. I explained to the people that this was just temporary in the meantime until these contracts came to fruition. So because you get so distracted in life to begin with, and especially as fast as things go now. Like, I'm talking 98. We didn't have the cell phones we have now. You know what I mean? We didn't have the technology that we have now in 98. I mean, we barely had a cell phone. We were just coming off of pagers, so you're so distracted to begin with. You really need to focus. I always say the quickest you can go all in and burn the boats is the best for you and your business. The other answer is you have to know what you love. Like, I can't teach you that. As a business coach, I can't teach you to be passionate about something. Either you are or you're not. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to figure it out real quick if you're not making money, whether you like what you're doing or you don't like what you're doing. Because if you love what you do and you come up to an obstacle where you need to make $10,000 in 3 weeks, you're going to figure it out. If you don't love what you do and you need $10,000 in 3 weeks, you're going to quit. So, you have to know that this is passion. Like, you love it. This is what you were meant to do. And you're going to be tested. I mean, I'm not fooling you to tell you I wasn't tested. I'm not going to fool you to tell you that I didn't go home certain nights and go, I don't know if this is really what I should be doing, kind of thing. I did, like everyone else does. I self-doubted myself just as much as everybody else does. But I fought that fight. And then I said, you know what? No, this is it. We're going to figure it out. And then the more you do that, the less you think that way. The problem is that we're designed to not face or walk into pain, because our mind is programmed not to let us do it. So once you learn how to walk through pain and walk through the other side, the more you do that, the less it hurts. There's people like right now that are going through things that I help with that are friends, and I'm like, dude, that's nothing. And it's everything to them. I'm like, it's nothing. It'll be fine. Here's what you do. Do this, that, and the other, and everything will be okay. And they like look at you and they're like, I don't know why I didn't think of that. I'm like, because all you're thinking about is pain. You're thinking about the pain you're going through right now. And I promise you that it seems like a lot right now, but it's really nothing. It's just another test. And that's what it is. Everything's a test. The test to see if you're going to take this all the way to the end. And at the end of the day, originally, my test was proving my father wrong. My father told me I would never succeed, and it was out his own jealousy that he didn't have enough. He didn't have enough of his own self pride to try to do his own thing, and he stayed in corporate life, and they treated him like shit. And he was jealous of the fact that I was doing my own thing, and he constantly told me that I would never make it, and I did. And that was my why at the time. And it's a horrible why to have, because it's not a positive why, it's a negative why that fosters more anger, more rage, and more negativity than it does positivity. And that's part of why I had to seek personal help, is because I had to figure out how to have positive whys, not negative whys. And because once I got to there, then I'm like, okay, I beat my dad. Now what? Because I didn't have anything other than a superficial why of beating my dad's notion that I could never do this. You know what I mean? So, you just have to keep pushing, and you have to figure it out. And most people know, like, it's a tough thing to describe. Like, I can give you all the flowery quotes from all the great people, that tell you things, but honestly, it comes deep in here and deep in your gut, and you know it. You can lie to yourself and tell you that it is working when it's not, but in your heart of hearts and in your stomach that is telling you this is either working or not working. And you just got to be honest with yourself and say it's working. And if it's not working, switch. You don't have to give up and not be an entrepreneur because the first thing you did didn't work. Remember, Thomas Edison, it took him 1,000 experiments to get to the light bulb. You know what I mean? Like, that takes some, I'm going to tell you what, that takes some real grit. 1,000 failed experiments. Like, I don't know if I could have gone that far, but in your travel of being successful, you're going to have tens of thousands of experiences that aren't exactly what you thought they were going to be. When you go to coaching, and when if you were to coach with me, I'm going to have you set out goals. And I'm going to tell you, I still have my original book from when I started coaching with someone. I look at them and I laugh at the goals because you don't know what you want until you start writing things down. And then when you write it down and you work towards it, you go, this is stupid. Why was this a goal? You know what I mean? Like, but again, it's just like when we talked about first starting. Until you start and you start doing the right things to get you on the right path, you don't know that you don't want it, or you don't know that this isn't really where you want to be. It's a culmination of figuring out who you're not, where you don't want to be first, before you get to really where you want to be in the end. And, that's a huge lesson. If you took anything from what we just said in the last 30 minutes, that should be something you take, is that you're going to figure out where you don't want to be, who you're really not, and the things you don't want to do first versus the aha, woo, I'm here moment. Like, and you're going to figure out a lot of them. Thousands of them. Like, I really don't like who I am, or I really don't like who I'm with, or I really don't like the people that surround me because they're really not helping me get to where I want to be. There's some deep things that come out of doing this kind of stuff. Like, I thought all these people were helping me, and now that I really see it, not one of them is helping me. They're all hurting me. They're all telling me the wrong things. Quit. Don't do it. It's easier to go get a job. But why wouldn't you support me? Well, people don't want to see other people succeed. That's why. I'm going to tell you. It's a nasty, innate thing that we have as human beings, and jealousy is the first thing that comes out when you're doing something that everybody else wants to do, but they don't have the cojones to do it. And now that they see you doing it and you're succeeding, they can no longer say, oh, it won't work. And they're like, oh, now what do we do? He's doing it. It's working. Holy smoke, look at him or her, sorry. It's just, yeah, I think you'll figure it out. And if you don't, then it's going to be painful. But normally you figure it out quickly because pain comes fast when you make a few decisions that may or may not work the right way or the way you thought it. And then you'll have a moment where you're going, is this really how I want to do things? Kind of thing. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. I can feel it's coming from your experience, actually, what you're
Sure.
sharing really. Each and everything what you shared, even about the like goals, especially when you're saying that it's not a goal if it's not written down and if it's not really executable. So how do you help others with like their goals are first of all, like how it is aligned with their bigger vision? Like when you set out your own goals, how do you make sure that it's aligned with your bigger vision? And how do you prioritize your own goals?
So there's multiple. You can do it from short goals to long or long goals to short. I always like doing the long goals first. I think that you look at the big, scare you kind of goal. And if your big goal doesn't scare you, then it's not a goal. It's just because you're just like, oh, I don't want to fail.
Yeah.
So here's what I tell everybody about goals. Set the biggest goal you possibly can. You say that I want to make $10 million next year. Okay. So you put that down and then we divide it out. Well, that's $1 million a month. And I'm doing easy math. That gives you 12 million, not 10. But we'll say, okay, we'll do the math and it's, not 850 or whatever it's supposed to be a month. So let's say that the first month you do a third of that. Let's say the next month you raise that by 10%. So now you're doing a third plus 10%. Let's say the next month you didn't even meet the first month. And then you go to the following month and then you do 50% better than you did on the first month. Are we getting somewhere? We're getting somewhere pretty big because you thought 10 million was a huge goal and you're actually hitting it by 50% almost every month now. That's a pretty big goal to attain. But if you said 1 million and we did the same scenario, you'd be way far behind, right? So go with the big goal. Again, you don't get crazy just to get crazy. You get crazy and you try to plan it out. Like, can we do it? Two things. One, you're going to know whether or not your system can handle it. If you're creating a product, can my system do $10 million, $1 million a month? My system can't right now. I don't have enough people. We don't have a big enough kitchen, but we can do 100. We can do 100 grand a month. We can do 200 grand a month. We can easily almost do 300 grand a month. So that gives us, three point something million a year. Now, once we get to that, we're probably going to need a bigger place. But the point is, we exercise them. I always go 30% more than we did last year. That's our goal because normally people do 10%. Between 10 and 15 is a good year over year increase once you get to a large number. In the beginning, when you're doing your first 10,000, then your first 15,000, then your first 50,000, your first 100,000, you're going to have some big leaps and bounds. And then all of a sudden you're going to plateau at a certain number. Ours was 560,000. It seemed like that's where we plateaued. But it's because I needed more people and I wouldn't hire more people. Once I hired more people, we went to 750 the next year. And again, learning like, yeah, I probably should have done that 2 years ago. But you don't know until you do it, and you have to understand that if you think you need it, you do it. So you have to have the big goals. You have to write it down, and then you have to define it out. So you take that 10 million, define it out. This is what we need to do every month, and then once you figure the monthly goal, you figure, okay, we're only open 4 days a week. So now we have to do X, Y, Z in sales each day of those weeks. That means that we need this many people to do this much sales. We need this many, for me, we need this many delivery drivers. We need to do this many weddings. We need to do this much in this side. I always think that you back it out that way, and then you learn and then you adjust. Again, if your goal was 10 million and you came in at 7, the question I would ask the person is, was that so bad? And you go, well, no, we were only doing 1 million last year. Okay, great. So now that you're doing 7, how can we grow that? Like, what have you learned from the process of going from 1 to 7? You know, so all we do is we take that process that you went from 1 to 7, and now we take that to do 7 to 14. You know, and say, okay, if it worked, let's just try multiplying that, duplicating that, and multiplying it to get you to the next big number. And then you learn, and each month, each week, each day, you analyze how it's working. How do we tweak it? You know, this area is working great. This area needs some attention. This area is doing way better than we ever thought. We'll keep that. Now we have to fix this area, and then you move around, and that's how you do it. But with nothing in mind, you go nowhere. You know, you can't steer a ship without setting a course. And setting a course is setting a goal. You have to have a map, and you have to have a beginning point and an end point. And the end point is your goal. And that's where you go. Now, you're in the ocean. And I give a lot of Navy and nautical descriptions because it's so very true in life. You have wind. You have the seas. You have other ships out there. You have planes. You have birds. You have a lot of things that affect the way how you course in just like life. Family, kids, neighbors, friends, family, all that kind of stuff. Tons of things. Customers, competitors. You have to steer, and you're going to go left a little bit sometimes, and you got to go right a little bit sometimes. It's never straight course, but as long as you know where you want to go, you know how you have to sail to get there. And there's going to be things that, you know, oh, well, we didn't realize there was an island in the middle of this course. We're going to have to turn right and go around and then come back. Okay, great. But you're still working towards the end point. And that's the most important thing. It's not what the end point is, and it's not where you start. It's how you go from point A to point B and realize the gains, realize the lessons, understand the pivots. And when you start doing this, you build so much self-confidence that you know you can do it. You know that you're going to get past these things, because I just did it last time. When we went from A to B last time, we did all this stuff, and it worked out. You know, yes, we didn't get there maybe in the time, maybe it didn't come out to the right number, or it didn't come out to whatever, but we got there, and we know how to do it now. And as a group of people, when you start building that confidence and you still building that culture, you're going to be indestructible. Like, you're going to have a system and a group of people that are willing to run through walls for you, to give you what you want together as a group, so that everybody wins. Nobody wants to lose. Everybody wants to win. I don't care what organization. It's just lack of really good leadership that gets them in there with the sword in their hand, going, screaming and hollering like, I'm running and we're taking the hill. You know what I mean? That's the only difference, is that you get people behind you that want to do it because you've shown them that, hey, I'll be in the trenches. We're going to do this together, and we're going to get there.
Oh, this is so useful, Sherm. Like, this is like one of the most practical advices I have heard on really splitting it down into bite size, the way you have made the whole business formula right in front of the audience. This is extremely useful. So we are nearly coming to an end of this discussion, and it's already been like I didn't even realize it's going so smooth, and I'm really loving it. Finally, I would like to know about your book, Sherm. You said you have written a book. Would you like to share something like
Absolutely.
how it can benefit audience, and how they can connect with you as well?
Sure. So I normally have a copy of it sitting right here. I think it's been a crazy 10 days, and I think I moved it for some reason. But it's Destination Success, the 8 mindset hacks for every entrepreneur. You can go on Amazon and buy it. And
yeah,
when in my coaching with my mastermind people in Texas, they were like, you have a lot of great information, and it was one of those things like, do I really? And then once I started writing things down, I was like, this is what I tell people all the time. Like, I didn't really realize it was golden nuggets kind of stuff. And it goes through eight things that I thought were some of the difficulties that I had in business when I was from day one to my 5th or 10th year. It's systems, it's leadership, it's marketing, it's a lot of things. It's you're not, this is not a book that you can pick up and start a company. What it is it gives you some good ideas about things that you may not have thought about, or saying, hey, look, I was here too and I made it. Like, you'll be fine. And sometimes you just need to hear that. It's about 110 pages. It's a really quick read. Again, I'm not a novel author. I think there's going to be another book that comes out. I haven't 100% committed it to it yet, to add like some more in depth. Like, I might take each chapter and write like 50 pages on, and 50, like really go into depth on each chapter with some more stories like we had here today. They give some people. It was a quick book. I had a timeline to get it done. And I think I did pretty good for my first book. It's, again, I was horrible in English in school and grammar and everything. So it was probably one of the harder things I had to do, was write this book. I kicked the can on this for a long time. And then all of a sudden, a buddy of mine that was helping me, he started writing his, and he's like, all right, well, we have to be done by February. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, you're already started. He goes, I don't care. You've been kicking this can for about a year. So you really have a bigger start to me. So, it was just one of those things, and we hurried up and I got it done. And I think it's a good book. But it just gives you some ideas. It's it's nothing it's not a plan. It's not an outline on how to build a company or start it. It's just 8 things that, like, hey, these are the things you're going to hit. Know that you can do it. Here's a couple examples of how to get through. And it's, and then I hand them out. I go speak at junior high schools and high schools that are taking business, and I hand it out to the students as a reference, and kind of thing, and hand it out to some of my business friends. Or when I come in contact with a new business owner, I give it to them and go, you're going to need this eventually. And they start laughing, and they're like, they normally say, I probably need it now. And I'm like, yeah, well, and if you need more help, let me know and we can set up some time. So yeah, I do very limited business coaching. It is not my full-time gig. I only take a few people if I go really deep. I have it's like a chief operating officer plan, where I basically help you, like, as your COO for a year, where we do weekly calls, we do bi-weekly texts and emails. You have questions, unlimited questions to me, through text messaging, where if something came up, if you have a question, I'll get right back to you. And then we do coaching as like somebody just calls me and say, hey, I have an issue. Can you help me out with this issue? And then I just set up a time structure I think it's going to take, and a plan. And then we just go through there. And if that's enough time, great. If not, we add on. There's nothing formal. There's no big, huge contracts. I'm not looking for, $299 a month for the rest of your life kind of thing. It's just, I try to help people, get past whatever it is they're stuck in. And help them, encourage them, move them forward. And, we set up a plan that's affordable for them. And because obviously, this is something I like to do. So it's not my number one moneymaker. I want to make sure I'm helping people more than, because I didn't have this in 98. These things weren't around. You know what I mean? Like what you're doing and what we do as podcasts. Weren't around. We had Tony Robbins, and that was really it. You had you have Jim Room and a few other people that were doing it, but that was huge money. You're talking $10,000-$15,000. And then you had to fly somewhere. Like there was no local schools weren't teaching entrepreneur. Colleges, it wasn't a degree. We didn't have the small business incubators in local areas. It was like, every man for themselves. You're on an island and it's burning. It's on fire. You got to figure it out, like kind of thing. So I look like, how can I help somebody so that you didn't have the same potholes, hurdles, obstacles that I did, that were silly if you just had a little knowledge or have somebody you can, speak to. And I had a couple people like that were my mentors, but I didn't use them in the way I probably should have, or as much as I should have, back in the day, because you didn't feel that it was like an educational thing. You felt more like you were bothering them because you were asking questions, because nobody really asked questions about that. You either had a job or you were like this big owner. There was no middle person, like small business, like it is today. So that's why I do it. So You can reach me directly at my cell phone is 302-293-8568. I am in the United States, so that's 1-302-293-8568. You can also reach me at my email, which is Sherm at destination-success.com. Again, that's Sherm at destination-success.com. And it's not like you send me an email and I send you an invoice. I mean, we can have a small conversation. You can text me. I can give you some answers, and then say, hey, I think this is what we should do. Maybe before I think it'd be a good game plan for you. You take it or you don't. There's no personal thing about it. I don't get upset. I'm trying here to help people. And part of that is my time is valuable because I'm trying to spend more time having fun now than working. So I want to make sure that I'm helping people and having a good time in life. I'm, at 51, I'm looking at like the retirement age of my life and where I want to be and what I want to do. And my quality of life is a little different than it was 10 years ago. So, I'm looking to do more things, and have more fun as I get older.
Yeah, thank you for sharing this, and thank you for sharing all the information. Like you correctly said, I think having a right coach is so important, who can see your blind spots, which you can't see, and also encouraging you to do better. Like, someone who can really trust in your abilities, which probably, coaches, they find it hard to trust in themselves because of their own inner stories, pains, or whatever.
Well, sure. Yeah. We all fight that every day. You fight it. I fight it. We all fight it. We all have stories we tell ourselves that aren't true. You know what I mean? And we have to make sure we have somebody say, no, that's not true. You can do it. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that's why human consciousness is different from AI. We will still keep on upgrading ourselves. And
I'll tell you what, I love AI. And just for the reason that it's not about getting rid of people. It's about making yourself better. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I look at AI. Like, AI, for me, I've been using it for about 9 months. And it helps me with my writing. It helps me with my email communications. It helps because I'm just, like I said, I'm not a good communicator that way. Like, I speak fairly well, but writing, I have a tough time, and it helps me with that. It helps me communicate better so that it sounds better. It's not as simple and pushy as sometimes it feels like when you text or email people. So I love AI, but you're never going to get rid of the human touch. Everybody wants to be loved and feel loved, and you're not going to get rid of that touching feeling. You know what I mean? So.
No, definitely. In my own case, like, English is not my first language, but AI has been very much beneficial in terms of research and copywriting and all those stuff. It does give good ideas, and especially when you are doing some kind of like you said, contracts, editing, and all those things. It's really helpful. So now this is like really one of the great episodes where I really enjoyed having conversation on different things, and I'm 100% sure the audiences are going to get benefited from it. So thank you so much, Shyam. I wish you all the best, and I wish more and more people would connect to you.
Thank you.
This as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on your podcast. And my goal is to help one person. If I help one person today, it was awesome. So I appreciate it.